All right, and so the value equation has 4 components, and I'm not going to go super deep on it, but I'll just walk you through it real quick. So you've got the dream outcome, which is what's the big thing that people want. So in this instance, it'd be they want to make more money in their gym, they might want to lose weight, they might want to fix their relationship, they might want to look cool in front of their friends, whatever. The next is the perceived likelihood of achievement, or the equal opposite of that is risk. How likely is it that when I buy this thing, I get what I want? Which when he asked the question, well, how likely is it? This is what he's teasing out. The next question is time. How long is it going to take between when I start and when I get? And the longer that is, the less valuable the thing is. And then you have effort and sacrifice, which is how hard am I going to have to try? What am I going to have to start doing that I don't want to do, or stop doing that I do want to do? To be clear, the reason that I made this value equation is because for so long, many people, and you probably heard them in concert, like provide value, create value. But I was like, what does this even mean? How does one create value? And so I set out to try and figure out what makes me want to buy stuff. And so in a hypothetical example, you'd want something that would be immediate. It would be no effort. It would be guaranteed, and it would be exactly what they want the way they want it. That would be the most valuable version of whatever you could sell. And then you would say, let's say that our average is $100,000 of value. All right, now in a B2B setting, it might literally be that because it's a monetary outcome. And if it's a B2C setting, selling to consumers, then we have to abstract the value of what fitting back into your high school jeans is worth to you, or looking good on prom night, or just feeling good every single day, whatever. But we have this ROI, and then we have some sort of discount that we're going to apply to it, which accommodates risk, right? One is it's in the future. I would pay less for something that is guaranteed and immediate than not guaranteed and at a delay. So let's say I sell tables, right? So this is a retail product, and you would immediately think, oh, this is probably highly commoditized. Well, I'm not so sure. Think about it. On the lowest end, you can buy a fold-out plastic table from Lowe's or Home Depot for probably $50 or $100. I haven't checked plastic table pricing recently. On the flip side, you can buy a $20,000 hand-carved wood table. Both of them allow you to put stuff on top of it and eat, right? And so the idea is, how can we position our thing separately from other people? Now, if the dream outcome for that table is not, okay, I just need to have something that I can put stuff on top of, the dream outcome might be when people walk into my home, they feel immediately impressed. So now we're actually relating this to status. So this is a business, because B2B is actually pretty easy. It's just, this is how much money it is. And then the rest of your time is trying to make it easier for them, less risky and faster. Business to consumer, sometimes you need to spend a little bit more time on translating what this status increase might mean for them and how meaningful that is, or the reverse, how terrible and painful it's been to lack this status, right? And so if we have this big, expensive, nice table, then we say, okay, here's the status. Now, the risk of this not happening, this is where we might show trends of this being a hot thing that many people understand the value of. So the risk of them not getting the status is lowered. The time is like, hey, I can have this at your house by the end of today. That would be something that's like, wow, this could happen right in time for this dinner party I have, or my boss is coming to my house. And then effort and sacrifices, don't worry, we have a white glove service that will make sure that we can fit it into your doorways, even though it's this massive thing, and we will assemble it there for you. You just need to say yes right now, and it will be there by the end of the night, and you can have dinner on it when you have your guests tomorrow. Right? Now we've tied them buying to all of the value components to getting them to then be willing to spend $20,000, because it's not about the wood, it's not about the table, it's about how much status is worth to them within this context, and they get to keep it forever, right? And so this is how we have to unpack what we're selling, so that many of you are selling tables and pricing like it's a plastic table, but you're then trying to half do the work, but then you can't make the margins work with the white glove because people say, oh, I only want to pay $100. You're like, well, I would deliver it. And they're like, oh, I have to assemble this too. And all of a sudden they're combating you, when if you just had charged more and positioned it differently, you could then give them all these other things that they want anyway. And the reason this is so important is that price is the single largest lever on profit. So let's say we've got a before, all right, which is that you sell your tables, all right, and you've got an after. This obviously works for services or whatever else you sell, all right? And so let's say you charge $100 for your table, and your cost for that table is, I'll be extreme here. We'll say it's $50, okay? Now, let's say that you have other costs like marketing and sales and other stuff like that, that amounts to $30. All right, so that means that your net profit's gonna be $20 when you sell a table. Gross profit is 50, net profit's 20. Okay. Now, let's say that we reposition our table as this amazingly valuable thing that is now a $1,000 table. Okay, now our cost on this The table itself might be 50, but let's say we include some of those perks. Let's say we've got the hand delivery and things like that. Okay, well, let's say that the delivery is going to be another $200 for one of your guys to go out there and use the truck, gas, whatever. So now we got $250 here. Okay, got it. And then the other costs, maybe your cost of sales goes up a little bit to sell this. You got to get more leads. Okay, so we'll call it 130. All right. So now what are we actually making in net profit for this table? So we got 380. Okay, I wish I had done easier math, but I think it's 620 here. All right. So $620 in profit. And so this is how you can get unreasonably wealthy in a very short period of time by simply repositioning what you sell based on the value it provides someone else rather than the cost that it costs you. And so to put this in context, this is a 31x increase in profit. And so I'll tell you this quick story. There was a guy that was in the same exact space as me that paid me for a consulting day years ago. And when I looked at his numbers, what was fascinating was that he was actually selling the same amount of people per month as I was. And so he was spending the same amount on marketing, had the same number of sales guys, and he was closing roughly the same amount as we were. And so what was interesting about this, and this was a massive lesson that I learned, is that CAC, or the cost of getting a new customer in an industry, as long as you're proficient at marketing, more or less is actually not that different. You'd be surprised. I look at a zillion companies every year, and between industries like a local plumber and another local plumber, it's not going to be that different. And so the big difference, though, is that we were able to make somewhere in the neighborhood of about 8 times more money per customer than this guy was. But here's the crazy part. We were making somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 times more profit. And it's because of this. So we had 8 times more money, but then it resulted in, so remember, this is a 10x, right? So this is a 10x increase in price, but it resulted in a 31x increase in profit. And so this is why price is such a strong lever on how much you make. Now, where it gets competitive is if somebody else can do something just like you and do it for less. But there was I think a McKinsey survey where they looked at a number of companies, and 85% of them competed on price, and only 13% of them won on price. So it's literally the worst possible strategy you can have because there's only one person who wins lowest price. Dan Kennedy said this famously: there's no reward you get for being the second cheapest competitor. You just lose a lot of money, right? And so there is, however, a benefit to being the most expensive person. And that's going to be a direct correlation to the amount of value that you can provide any individual person. And so again, it's about thinking, how much is this worth? And then can I deliver it to them? And can I eliminate the risk, make it faster, and make it easier for them so that I can get less discount on the value that I think it can provide that person? Now, the 201 version of this is selling out of their future wallet, not today's wallet. And then the ways that we pull apart that value, so let's say it's $100,000 of value, there's going to be a discount that's going to be applied to that $100,000 based on how likely it is, which is the risk. It's going to be based on how long it's going to take, which is the time. It's going to be how easy it is, how much work they're going to have to put in. And then fundamentally, the dream outcome, which if they want to make more money, that one's clear. Now, if you have a B2C business, a business to consumer business, then you have to translate what looking amazing on prom night means to someone financially, or how much pain they've been in for not having the specific solution in their life. And so if I buy stuff and it gets to me faster, I'm willing to pay more for it. If I buy stuff and they guarantee it, or they make it risk-free, or they show me tons of proof, I'm more likely to pay for it and pay more for it. If someone says, oh, you don't have to do anything versus you have a ton of work associated with it, I'm more willing to pay for it. And then the dream outcome is just making sure that I actually want this thing versus something else. And so this actually operationalizes what we can do as business owners. How do we make it faster? How do we make it easier? How do we make it risk-free and deliver it the way they want it? So that was the first of the 3 kind of beliefs that I had to break in order to make crazy money in my 20s. The second way to make money so fast it feels illegal is to sell in a fast cash conversion cycle.